The Scottish Highlands. They hold some of Europe's most spectacular scenery. But this typical glen, with its treeless hillside and bare moorland, is not a natural wilderness. Once, lush Caledonian forests would have stretched along these glen walls, full of vibrant life. But when some of the elements disappeared, the whole ecosystem was taken out of balance. Since the 15th century, the environment has been overused. This has had a devastating effect on the Scottish landscape. The disappearance of its forests creating a domino effect, still clearly visible today. Gone with the trees are all the larger mammals, with the exception of one. Traditionally a woodland animal, the red deer, have adapted and evolved to withstand the harshest conditions of this country. However, the change in habitat from forest to the wide open glen hasn't left the deer unchanged. One effect of a poor diet is that these young calves will only grow to be a third the size of their forest-dwelling European cousins. The open glen is a poor substitute for what once would have been rich woodland. The lack of shelter means no protection from the weather and leaves them vulnerable and exposed. In the open, calves tend to stray further from their mothers. Without natural predators, such as the wolf, these areas become a safe playground and an ideal nursery. But without predators, deer numbers have increased dramatically, and intense grazing is now preventing the regeneration of the forest. Today, only small patches of forest remain, and many of the animal species dependent on the forests have been overwhelmed, and some even lost forever. Problems for one iconic tree dweller began in the 15th century. As major felling began, its numbers were all but obliterated, and by the 17th century, they were virtually non-existent. Luckily, the red squirrels were reintroduced from southern England back into these last remaining fragments of the ancient Caledonian forest. Living in this ever-shrinking habitat, the generally solitary squirrels are now seen in denser communities. Unfortunately, the remnant forests are composed of old trees, reaching the ends of their lifespans. As the trees die and no new ones grow, the forest continues to shrink. And without human help, most of the remnants will disappear in the next few decades. Positive work has begun, with plans to start replanting the hills with a host of native trees. These pre-dug mounds ensure that plants such as these juniper trees can set their roots firmly into the richest soil. Once wild boar roamed the forest, acting like a living rotivator. By disturbing the soil, they created ideal sowing conditions for tree seedlings. Allerdale are reintroducing wild boar so they can aid the forest's recovery. The boar root through the undergrowth with their snouts. Throwing clumps of earth down the hillside, they expose large sections of turned soil, allowing the seeds to reach the earth. This rooting behaviour is essential for tree regrowth. Along with the wild boar, Allerdale are beginning to reintroduce giants of the ancient forest. At up to 8 feet at the shoulder, the moose are prolific eaters, but before fully reintroducing large grazers, the current problem of imbalance inherent with the elk's smaller cousins, the red deer, will need to be addressed. The deer have no natural control over their numbers, and where deer population is dense, they will prevent the natural regeneration of both the trees and the ground flora. Currently, culling is essential. Re-establishing a natural balance will be impossible without the reintroduction of the native predators, as they fulfill an essential role in keeping balance among the herbivores. The most controversial proposed introduction, the wolf, their reintroduction will be critical for a self-sufficient forest. They are the final missing link in the process of restoring the Caledonian forest.